before the burning cauldron of my Rick Owens Aesop candle, I submit one last judgment on the Labo City exclusives on the last day of their availability. I had the afternoon off, so I decided to pop into the boutique and give some of the newer ones another shot. I tried Citron, Benjoin, Mousse de Chêne, Musk, and Tabac. Initial impressions, again, a lot of them are pleasant. I think especially the top notes tend to grab you. I sprayed 5 of them on different regions of my arm so I could get a better sense, and also on these blotters. One thing I'm struck by is just how vague they are. There's a sense with lots of the Labo that they're kind of almost mushy or smeared or smudgy. In the later dry down, smelling the different regions of my arm, I could hardly tell them apart. Of course, there's differences, I can distinguish them, but they all kind of dry down to this vague, musky, woodsy, slightly powdery kind of thing that I ultimately just find really boring. And it happens to a lot of the Labo scents where I feel like they actually kind of fall apart in the dry down. And it's not the sense that the dry down is simply designer or cheap smelling or not long lasting. It just, again, has a lack of precision. I drone on about Frederick Mall, but I feel like he's very precise in the smells that are conveyed and that the way they're carried from the top through the base of the perfume, whereas these feel like they have an idea up front and then the structure beneath them just collapses. So again, I don't think they're particularly well-made perfumes, and I don't think they garner anywhere near the ridiculous price they're asking. My favorite I tried today was Mousse de Chêne, which distinguished itself as sort of a green, spicy feel. I actually can't think what it reminded me of. The essay suggested that it had a tea note, which I hadn't seen listed. And I think, yeah, it reminds maybe a little bit of like a black tea or maybe like a mate. I am curious if anyone else has suggestions of what Mousse de Chêne smells like, because it reminded me of something, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Benjoin was kind of the most forgettable for me. A little bit slightly soft, sweet, woody, but not particularly resinous or incensey or distinctive. Citron is a really pretty jasmine, and you'll see I actually bought the overpriced $12 sample of that to wear some more. I wanted to buy Mousse de Chêne, but they were out of samples, and I decided Citron was another one I liked. Again, it's just pretty. I like that it's kind of on the fresh side of jasmine. Musk I was really interested in trying, but it smells a lot like the kind of Chanel musk that you can get in something like 1957 for a lot cheaper. What else? Tabac starts promising. I like it. It's not overly kind of heavy or sweet tobacco, but again, the base was kind of generic, woodsy thing. I think you get a similar base in the Labo Oud for a lot cheaper. What else do we have here? I think that's it. Anyway, one interesting thing I thought about that might be helpful since they're not available is better and cheaper alternatives to all of these. I know there must be cheaper jasmines that do a similar thing. I've got Paris Monte Carlo Jasmine de Pays, which is really lovely, one of the most realistic jasmine from Jean-Claude Elena. The main difference is that jasmine's maybe a little more marshmallowy and a little less fresh. It's lacking some of the kind of citrus freshness that Citron has. Benjoin, I was thinking that I have Guerlain Louis, which is a massively better perfume that features benzoin. That one, unfortunately, I guess was repackaged and is now quite expensive, but I bought it for $50 off FragranceNet. It was really unloved at the time. Musk, I think Chanel 1957, but even better, Les Indémodables Musk de Sable. Actually really similar musk, except the Les Indémodables is a lot more interesting, smells of expensive ingredients. The base extends the interestingness through the entire life of the perfume for a couple days. But I get a similar sense of somewhat powdery, somewhat furry musk as the Labo musk. That one's a lot better and a lot cheaper. Tabac, also I'm going to suggest Les Indémodables. Vanille Havane is really a gorgeous, rich, slightly sweet vanillic tobacco fragrance in disguise. I guess it's not in disguise, but it's called Vanille. And to me, it's really more about tobacco. Like I said, Mousse de Chêne smells familiar and I liked it. But I'm sure that there are other cheaper things, and I'm open to suggestions if anybody has any at top of mind. Again, the one I have, Gaiac, I bought a long time ago. I used it, I refilled it. I used to be signature scent kind of guy, and it was the only thing I wore for a bit. Now it honestly bores me. I still like it, but the kind of just woodsiness drones on, and I start to find something really sharp and annoying about it. Which is interesting because the first time I tried it, I couldn't smell it at all. And it has that kind of wafting in and out that's indicative of lots of ISOE. But now I find something sharp, like nose tickling, that kind of bothers me. And I find that most of the times when I put it on, I want to wash it off by the end of the day and start over. Yeah, and that's my other kind of interesting experience today, wearing 5 perfumes on my body. A couple hours later, I was bored of them all and would rather take a shower and spray on some Chanel or Frederic Malle. Anyway, I respect if you really love one of these, you find it your signature the way I did Gaiac, and therefore worth the high price. But gee, $500, $350 for the 50 mil. You can pay a high price if something feels that special, but these aren't special and they don't feel really well made. They don't feel like they're using quality ingredients. The samples are $12, and I bet there's not $12 worth of anything in this bottle. They really should give the samples away if they believed in their product. The kind of lost revenue of giving samples away should be made up by people becoming obsessed with them and wanting to come back and buy it, but it's obviously not the case. So they have to make some dollars on the small ticket items like this. But yeah, so why did I buy it? Just for fun, something to try over the next year and to compare. So that's it. The Labo City exclusives, still not worth it in my opinion. None of them are bad or offensive, but all of them are fairly generic and not particularly expensive or worth it. The discussion on expensive is interesting because I don't think a fragrance has to smell expensive or use expensive ingredients to be worth a high price. But I think it has to be made well and have some artistic sense to it, some kind of perspective, has to say something. And these almost pride themselves on saying nothing at all.